on are your speakers turned off?
All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our April 2023 MACAE membership check-in. I hope that you're doing well. I'm going to turn off the captions for the meeting today because PowerPoint, I don't know if many have used that recently. They've enabled in the newest version captions, which are great, but also a little distracting if you're a presenter because it's capturing every little thing that you're saying. But good morning, everyone, and welcome again. I'm Patrick Brown, the director here at MACAE, and I'm happy that so many of you were able to join us this morning. I know there's a couple of other alternating conflicting meetings. We are recording today's session, and we will make sure that you get the links to all the information we share out today, as well as the recording. I hope you also had a restful spring break. I know many of you took vacations over the last few weeks. I saw many of you down in Atlanta at the COABE conference, which was wonderful. And even if you didn't get time, but maybe you got some time with your kiddos if they were home, I hope that everyone's doing well and enjoyed that time together. I would like to start kind of with a great video that I found about what makes us different. You know, as we come into spring, I just am reminded of the uniqueness of the place that we live compared to others in the country. But also, I think spring is an important time because it's kind of a fresh start and a new opportunity. And I saw this video. It is a little on the longer side, but I think it's well worth it. So I'm going to transition over to the video. And if everyone can just put in the chat that you can hear it, that would be very helpful.
Hi. Today, I'm going to talk to you about something that we ignore each and every day. A power nested deep inside of us that differentiates us from every other living creature. But before that, I want to ask you something. What do you see here? A bee. Yes, we all agree that it's a bee. I asked this question to a group of people, and they all replied saying that it was a bee. But what if I told you that you were wrong? Would you believe me? Well, when you ask me that question, through my eyes, I see more than just a bee. This small, mere creature is more than just a bee. Without it, thousands of plants around the world would go unpollinated. The rate of fruits and vegetables produced will reduce, causing famine. Yet we still call it a bee. Without this wonderful creature, crops around the world will die. Farmers will go to sleep at night, hungry. Without this creature, there would be no such thing as honey. Tribes around the world that rely on its annual harvest will die out. And that pancake you had for breakfast would be dry. Without this wonderful creature, those amazing gardens that you see colored with flowers would be pale and dry. Yet we still call it a bee. What I'm trying to get out of this is that just like the bee, every small thing that we do, every little action that we take affects the whole world around us. This is why I admire the bee so much. It doesn't know why it exists. It doesn't even know why it has a queen or why it has to serve it. Yet it still does, even if it means that it has to risk its own life to protect its colony. Just like bees, we as a species don't know why we exist. We do not know what our purpose in life is. Yet, we still believe that each of us, from birth, we believe that we are destined to do something, and we strive to accomplish it. We work so hard on attaining a bright future that sometimes we forget to live in the present. We humans have this weird mentality in our brains that we are superior to every other creature. We think that we are like the gods of this world. But the reality is, there are only very few things that separate us and those monkeys that are swinging in the bushes. You don't believe me? Let me explain it genetically. The Human Genome Project shows that there are over 3 billion codes in the human genome, of which 2% account for the way we look or our phenotype. Now, you see, I was doing more research and something surprised me. Their research shows that we humans share 50% of our DNA with a banana. Yes, you heard me. Every person in this room shares around 50% of their DNA with a banana. You can put that on your CV. If you guys are still a bit confused on what I'm trying to say, imagine this. You're at a convention, raising money for a certain cause. Let's say it's the Mata Hut Run. But this time you're not running. You are just a group of people just standing around. Let's say these red dots are the group of people standing around. The head of the convention is giving his usual speech about how this wouldn't be possible without you. None of this would have been able to happen if you weren't there. You're standing there thinking, I wouldn't have made a difference. If I left, there'll still be these millions of other people here. So you leave. But have you ever thought, what if all those other people have the same idea? What if they all leave? Sooner or later, very few people will be left, and the head will be left alone with only nothing. What was the point of this example? It was to show how short-sighted we humans are. We don't even think that one significant person can make such a big difference in the world. But the bee has shown me that such a small thing can make such a drastic change on this planet. What was the point of this short talk? The point was to open your eyes to the fact that we humans are not so different from every other living creature. We are not the amazing breakthrough in life in this universe. We are just the same. Except for one thing, a power hidden deep inside of us, a power that has allowed us to evolve into the advanced civilization that we are now. Without this power, we'd still be living in caves. This power is the power to question. The power to ask, why can't we cross our limitations? The power to ask, why can't we fly? Why can't we go faster? Without this, we would just be no different from the monkeys swinging the trees. This power deep inside of us is in everyone in this room. And this power is what makes us human. Thank you.
So I just saw that a couple of days ago, actually, and I really appreciated and valued the talk there. Simple, but actually very profound for us. And I just hope it gives us, again, continued energy and enthusiasm as we come into spring. The sun is shining, there's new opportunities available, and we have a lot of work to keep doing. So with that, I want to open it up. If anyone has any good news, personally, professionally, that they would like to share out. But first, before we do that, I'd like to just see, is there anyone attending their first MACAE membership check-in? And if so, you can say hello in the chat or unmute and introduce yourself if you'd like to. And if not, then we can head into our sharing good news. So is there anyone attending for the first time? And if not, anyone have any good news to share?
Hi, Patrick. This is Michael Evans from Kalamazoo. We always have good news. We had success last week with a partnership with Western Michigan University's Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. For the first time, Western Michigan University was able to take a class from its Osher Lifelong Learning Institute and teach it to our residents and adult learners within our adult ed program. So this is something that's bringing the expertise of the Western Michigan University faculty into our adult ed programs in a meaningful way. It was a tremendous success, and they are looking forward to developing other courses that are relevant for our adult learners, parents, residents, and their families.
That's wonderful, Michael. Thank you for sharing that collaboration.
Michael, what was the course they taught?
They taught a course called Place Matters. It's about the Edison project. Edison is their most diverse and populous neighborhood, but it also has a great many community challenges. So it was a history course that was designed to get residents and participants more aware of how the neighborhood got to its condition. This was aligned to a lot of the GED standards, by the way, but also to provide some promising practices of how we can improve this neighborhood through lifelong learning, adult education, workforce development, and multi-generational learning.
Wow, that's very innovative and really bringing it home. Wow, how long was the course?
We had, prior to the 2-day course, we had 3 monthly meetings where we brought in our adult learners and what we call resident scholars. And they met with the OLLI instructor and with our adult ed instructors to get them prepared for the course material. So it was 3 monthly meetings. There were evening sessions where we had a local restaurant provide food for it, which made it so much better. And then it was a 2-day course. So the course itself after those 3 days was 4 hours. And it was included as one of the OLLI OSHA Lifelong Learning Opportunity catalog, their courses. And
Yeah.
in about 2 weeks, all of those residents and our adult learners will be making a visit to Western Michigan University to complete the experience.
Wow, that's really cool. And for everybody on the Zoom here today, just so you know, most colleges and universities have such a chapter in their associated with their institutions. And most of them have a couple hundred classes that people can take. Some are a day, some are a week, some are a month. Very interesting stuff. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, and all of those who completed the classes, our resident scholars, are now members of OLLI and can take many of those other courses that you described. I'm proud to be the co-chair of the advisory board of our local OLLI.
Yeah, that's interesting. I may be calling you to set up something like that here in Holland. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Any other good news? Going once, going twice?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Whitney.
We started an ESL program to cover all of Northeast Michigan. We've never had one before, and it was pretty scary to get going. We started last week. I had told my superintendent that we expected 8 to 10 students total in the 8 counties that we serve. And we currently have 40 students. And that's not including 7 refugees from Ukraine that I know are around and I'm trying to connect with through Michigan Works. So it's exploding and overwhelming. And I've hired new teachers, which is really exciting. To find people is awesome. So I feel like God really has put a lot together for us.
Thank you for sharing that, Whitney. And I'll just put a plug here because Whitney and I have been talking about her wonderful program. Is that if anyone has any wonderful ESL resources or strategies or anything like that, please send Whitney a message in the chat. And she's looking for everything now. Like she said, she was looking at a kind of a smaller cohort. And then just with all ESL students, we know that the Bring a Buddy does work and it has suddenly exploded. So we're so excited for that, Whitney. I just think that you're such a great asset to the community there. And a lot of folks don't associate that there probably was an ESL need in your area. And so I think that's really wonderful that you're providing that service and being open to that opportunity.
Yeah, and I'm grateful to my friends at MACAE also, because that CASA's online training was awful, but having friends to walk us through it was helpful. Oogie was FaceTiming me in his program. I copied the exact cart that you have. So thank you to all my friends.
Whitney, it's Michael Connor in Zealand. We have a big ESL program, several locations. I'm going to send you a link. It's got all most of our materials and resources on there that you can just look up and you can order them online. They're online programs. Their lessons that our teachers developed, et cetera. So I'll send that to you.
Thank you. We
Sure.
appreciate it.
Thank you for that, Mike, too. And I'll just say one other thing for Whitney. When Whitney is supporting the new MACAE swag that we are going to be launching here. So that is an exciting good news sharing thing that I am excited about, is that we are finally in a position to be able to support some swag for people if they would like it. So any other good news? All right. Well, thank you all for sharing that. And I'll always appreciate this opportunity to hear about the good things that are going on. And if you have more good news after the fact, please share it out with us. We have an upcoming newsletter that we'll be wanting to put information in. And we just always do collect these stories as well, because they are relevant and timely for lots of our different conversations and discussions. So some very exciting news for us at MACAE, and some really important and good news that I would like to share is that after several months of searching for the right candidate and the right person to come in and join our MACAE team, we are excited to welcome Dawn Beaver to the MACAE team. Dawn is joining us today. This is her first week on the job after spring break. So she's coming in really already working on several projects. Her contact information will be at the MACAE office at gmail.com. You'll see her joining several meetings and having different opportunities to meet with different programs. We've already kind of set forth some projects for the next couple of months that she'll be working on. And I'm excited to bring her along to several outings and different events so that she can really get an understanding of our membership, the work that you all do, and the spaces that you might be able to find your learners and where they are and the families that you impact. And I just would like Dawn, if she's able to just say a few words, if she would.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. And I'm just as excited to be here as Patrick has said he is excited to have me. So I look forward to meeting many of you and learning about all the different programs that we offer. You can see in my little short bio that I have spent the last 5 years at a public school. And my most recent role was as an MTSS academic mentor. So I've gone between education and corporate, and feel like I have some really useful skills. So I'm excited to get started, and I know we'll be getting to know each other quite well.
And Dawn came, thank you so much, Dawn. Dawn came to the MACAE Fall Conference this past fall and was kind of intrigued about the continued work that we do. We were very impressed with her resume and the different educational experiences that she's had that really are in direct alignment with our MACAE populations and those of you working in that sector. And obviously she's a CHIP. So that was a shoo-in that she is a Central Michigan grad. And we know so many of you are Central Michigan as well. So I'm just really excited about this. It has been a process. I'd like to thank the board members that were a part of this process. Finding the right candidate that can do it all and knows all is really important. And so we think Dawn is that candidate that can bring that to us. She's already started, has lots of great ideas about what we can do going forward. We've had a lot of great conversations. And if I can share on your behalf, Dawn, she just got back from a wonderful trip to England. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I am sure that she would love to share that. You can see the beautiful pictures that she was sharing there too. So we're excited. More to come on connecting with Dawn. We'll probably have a few both virtual and in-person opportunities to share more about her work. And like I said, she'll be joining a lot of our upcoming professional development and conversation so that she can continue to be connected with you all. So we're so excited. I also wanted to share that this week we launched and dropped another episode of our MACAE member profile series. And this week we featured Dr. Jeff Flip, the director at Lakeshore Adult Alternative and Community Education. So if you have an opportunity or a chance, please watch Jeff's video. You'll notice that there's kind of a funny moment a couple minutes in, and those of you that hold multiple hats and work in different spaces will appreciate that. And I just really want to thank Dr. Jeff for sharing his story. This, again, was a project that we launched this past fall to highlight the work of you all as association members. And so far to date, I think we have taped about 15, and we're slowly rolling those out. And my hope is that we will get to the 40 mark at least and keep going for the 40th anniversary next year. So we've got plans to interview some alumni and MACAE Faces of past, current members, and really, if you're interested in sharing your story, it really is just a conversation to talk about how you have come to this space of adult alternative community education and what that means for you. Tell us a little bit about your program and where you see kind of the future of your programming and kind of the forward-facing aspects of your program going. So I've appreciated these conversations. I've gotten to know many of you a little more deeply by participating in these interviews. So if you're interested, please let me know. Otherwise, I probably have you on my list and I will probably tap on your shoulder at some point. So go ahead and watch Dr. Jeff's video when you get a chance. Other good news. Oh, where is my slide? We have good news to share, and I think I'm out of order. Oh, maybe I didn't. Well, I had a wonderful slide here, and I will make sure I put it back in when we share this out. But we have great news to share is that Karen Govan, our vice president of MACAE, was successful in her election to the COABE National Board, the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. So now she will be the representative for Mid-Michigan. If you remember, that's been about a month-long voting opportunity. Thank you for so many of members who voted for Karen. She really will be a wonderful asset to the COABE board and be able to represent all of MACAE, as well as the Midwest. She's got a lot of great ideas about what she can bring to that landscape and to that space. And we'll be sending out a more official email announcement for that. I think Karen's on, and I apologize because I had a nice slide and somehow that didn't make it into the final edit, but I just want to congratulate Karen. She's been a longtime MACAE member, a longtime advocate for adult community alternative education, and I think her voice will be really important. And at the conference, it was really important that so many were reaching out to Karen for her leadership and asking to engage, and she's a great advocate for us in Michigan. And so I don't know, Karen, if you're on, if you want to say anything, otherwise, we can talk about the conference takeaways.
Not really, but I just wanted to thank everyone for voting and for participating in the election. Similar to, what they're doing with COABE, don't forget to vote for MACAE election that we're having if you want to nominate someone, and then, elect for the positions and if you want to be part of it. But thank you everyone for, again, for voting and your confidence, and super look forward to starting it in July and seeing what I can do, not only to showcase Michigan, but obviously our region. So, and I hope you participate in those region meetings when they occur. So thanks, Patrick.
Thank you. And we already have plans. I know she has to be impartial because now she represents all the Midwest, but we're going to advocate that COABE should come to Detroit or Grand Rapids and have a conference in Michigan. I think it'd be great to go to Belle Isle and have the Riverwalk and all of that. So that's what we're going to push on you, Karen, as a goal for the next couple of years to get that on COABE's calendar. But congratulations once again. We appreciate your advocacy and your efforts and all that you're doing on our behalf, and we'll continue to do at the national level. So thank you for that. I wanted to share as well that we had a large contingency of people from Michigan. I think we had about 15 or so from Michigan in our delegation. It was so great to see so many of you in COABE. It's funny that you have to go all the way to Atlanta to meet up with our friends and colleagues. But I wanted to share just a couple of kind of high level takeaways that I think all of us, as we had conversations at the conference and experienced the different sessions and networking opportunities. These were some of the takeaways. Really, there was a lot of sessions on teacher-led best practices and really trying to get back to supporting educational opportunities for professionals, whether that's quality professional development, quality teaching strategies. What does that really mean in order to accelerate learners and really tap into the potentials of our teachers? The other was, again, I don't think this is necessarily a new topic, but it was certainly resonated. I saw across the different sessions was a continued community wraparound supports for all learners. And how do we leverage that through different funding opportunities and different partnerships. And so there was a lot of innovative strategies that were suggested, a lot of pilots that have been launched, especially coming out of the pandemic. And so that really resonated, at least for me and a couple of the other colleagues that we shared. The other was alignment of family literacy support programming. You know, adult education, family literacy are directly connected. And actually, when we think about adult education, it is called the Adult Literacy and Family Literacy Act, Adult Education and Family Literacy Act. And so there were a lot of strategies as well as programming about really returning to the literacy roots and family literacy and generational poverty, generational literacy, how to have that economic mobility for families. And so I think from those takeaways, there will be some professional development opportunities that certainly we will invite some national speakers, as MACAE has always had and always done, to our professional learning opportunities for this year, as well as going into next year in our fall conference as well. And then the last thing was connecting to employer-led collaboratives. And this is directly related to the integrated education and training space of later on, I'll talk about there is a new report that was released that really highlights that maybe nationally integrated education and training states have not rolled that out in a really robust way. And maybe that there's been leadership lacking in doing that. And so there was kind of, you know, this really sense and collaboration, very high level about how do we engage with employers and allow adult literacy and adult education services to be connected to employers, and then ultimately lead our learners that would like to be workers into really robust employment and have that be very seamless, well-funded, wrapped around. So those were some of the takeaways. I would encourage anyone else who went to COABE, if you have anything in there that you would like to share, you can put that into the chat. If there are any other takeaways that you'd like to share from COABE. But it was a wonderful conference. It was great to see so much of Michigan represented. MACAE participated in national state association leadership. Our Vice President Karen Govan, our President Tammy Brown participated in that in a pre-conference as well as throughout the conference. And so it's really important that we're there at the table. And some of the conversations and things that we learned was that we as an association in Michigan are one of the stronger associations across the state. And many state associations do not have staff that are in these capacities to provide leadership and provide services. And so that is a kudos to all of you for your continued membership of MACAE, and to the MACAE boards, past and present, for their vision and how MACAE can be an asset and a service to the community and to the entire state. So we appreciated being there and being engaged in all those conversations. Switching gears a little bit, I wanted to give a few updates on a couple of important and timely topics for each of our kind of different populations and aspects of our association. And first, I wanted to start with the community ed and before and after school enrichment programming discussion. And I wonder if Brian Puffer is on, if he would like to share about an event that they're hosting tomorrow. It's at the MACAE office. If you'd like to share, Brian.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Quickly, we're having a networking event tomorrow. It's being sponsored by, you can see in our Hearst newspapers, and really just trying to get people from around the state kind of come out and have a roundtable, talk about, obviously John Dixon from Hearst newspapers talking about printing. I know Patrick's going to say a little something to start the meeting off about the MACAE membership. And then I'll be also speaking about just kind of social media tools we use and staff retention and whatnot. But more is just kind of get everybody around and just kind of network and just kind of discuss what's going on in their department. So it is, we do have a limited number of spots. So as you can see on that flyer, if you can just RSVP if you're interested, it is free. It's a free lunch. So we have 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I don't know if it'll go all the way to 2, but this is something that Monique came up with, Brendan, you can see down there, trying to get this started. So it's something we hope to do maybe, 2-3 times a year. So tomorrow's our first go at it. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian, and appreciate Brian's leadership in this space. And we would be remiss if we didn't remind everyone that May 5th is the next meeting of our committees. And so if you can't make tomorrow's meeting, you can certainly join the Community Education Committee meeting on May 5th as well, both virtual and hybrid, virtual and in person. So thank you for that, Brian. A few alternative education updates. One is certainly that today is an important testing day. This week is as we come into April. So happy testing time to all of you. May the odds be ever in your students' favor as they continue to do the wonderful work that they do. One update is that there is launched here, and I've included the link. There is through the Department of Education, a series of education workforce job fairs. And I know that that's always an important space for your districts or programs to be a part of and to look and see if there are quality candidates that are interested in joining the education workforce. So they are happening on June 7th and August 9th. More information there is included on locations and times and things. But if that's something that you're interested in being a part of, they are still soliciting if you would like to be a participating employer, as well as if you would like to go and participate as an education professional and network and see if there are candidates that may be good to be a part of your program. Probably the most important news that has been released in the last couple of weeks is that the Alternative Education and Innovative Programs Waiver application is now open. The process has been released. It is due on June 15th. So this would be, again, for all of you as programs in the alternative space that use the days and hours waiver. I've included the link here to the official memo from MDE. And then you can also see the official application here. Once you return in, you have to obviously sign in. Jeff McNeil at the Michigan Department of Education is a good contact for that. You can see him listed here, as well as Steve MACAE if you have particular questions about that. And then also the reporting requirements for this school year are also due at the same time on June 15th. So you have two kind of real tasks of reporting out the reporting requirements for this current program year, as well as applying for the waiver and application for next program year. Circle that date on your calendar, June 15th at 11:59 p.m. Try to get it in by 11:58 p.m. in case your computer has to update and upgrade. But essentially, for those of you that are familiar with the days and hours waiver, you need to go through that process and resubmit that application. And then something else that may not impact a lot of you, but something that we should all be aware of is that recently, state statute changed through the legislature, and before adjourning last year's session and coming into calendar year 2023, I almost said 2022, 2023, the legislature and the governor signed into law Public Act 213. So 213 requires that certain text of the Michigan Constitution is labeled and posted in publicly funded schools. So that includes an LEA, a charter, a district, in any building that's funded through the State School Aid Act. And so where this is important or relevant for you all is if you are in a building that is a standalone or separate, perhaps from your district administrative offices or any other district buildings. This would be a conversation that you might want to have with your district leadership, is that you have to post these particular sections of the state constitution, Article 8, as well as Section 10 of the school code. They have to be posted. This new mandate lists the positions or spaces in which that information has to be publicly posted. And the deadline was March 29th, but certainly with spring breaks and things of that, it would be important to talk with your district and see if those are requirements that you have to be a part of. So that is something that was passed and that all of our programs and providers should be aware of. If you are a state-funded program, and especially if you're a state-funded program that is in a standalone building, Technically, according to the requirements, you would have to post this and have this available, but certainly we would refer you to contact your district and have those conversations about that as well. Any questions about that so far? All right. A couple of also really important and timely updates in regards to nonprofit investment opportunities. We are strongly encouraging our nonprofit entities within the association to pay attention to these two grant opportunities. We've emailed them out directly to those of you in the nonprofit space directly, but I think it's important to circle back to here is that there are now two collective grant opportunities available specifically for 501c3s and nonprofits. The first is being called the Michigan Nonprofit Relief Fund. That has an application deadline of May 5th, and that is for 501c3s, small 501c3s that are continuing to experience or can demonstrate need of ongoing implications from COVID-19. Certainly that could apply to many of our nonprofit organizations as you continue to go through that. The application process is live and available. This is not restricted to just educational or workforce training nonprofits. It's open to all nonprofits across the state. So there are a lot. So certainly we know that probably there is a greater need, but it's important that you are aware of that and are interested. If you're interested, you can go there to the link that we've sent out already, but also here when you get the slide deck, you can explore that and see if that would be a fit for your program. The other is a one-time $15 million Michigan Impact Grant Program that is specifically open for a feedback period through April 21st. So a short window. It isn't necessarily an application at this time that's available, but essentially they are looking for feedback on the types of programs, nonprofits, 501c3s that would be interested in applying and what sort of programming they might be interested in. So almost like an interest survey component in this initial phase. And that feedback is through April 21st. And that particular grant is targeting historically marginalized communities as demonstrated through the ALICE data and ALICE populations. Low poverty, historically marginalized, many urban settings. And that has been outlined as being a targeted space for larger nonprofits or a collaboration of multiple nonprofits working together as a regional model, et cetera. Again, this Michigan Impact Grant is not restricted to just educational or workforce training providers. It's open to nonprofits that historically work with the ALICE population through a multitude of different programming opportunities. One more note is that these are all separate from some of the advocacy initiatives that MACAE has undertaken around adult literacy. And so those are certainly things that we want to continue to promote and support, but these are additional opportunities. If I can help answer questions in any way about that, but I would really refer you all to those links if you're in that space and would like to do that. I have had a couple of nonprofits that would like to gather together to discuss this. And if that's something they are interested in, we could certainly organize that. But I would need to hear from different members about this and if that would be a need for them in order for us to move forward. So wanting to share that up for those of you in the membership that are in the nonprofit landscape. And again, this should have been emailed to you already, but if you didn't receive that information, I can resend it to you directly, or you can find the information here when we send out the slide deck later today. Any questions about the nonprofit fund opportunities that are available now? Okay. A couple of updates regarding adult education and integrated education and training. One is that there was a naturalization test redesign webinar hosted by the United States Customs and Immigration Services, Citizenship, excuse me, and Immigration Services on Friday, March 3rd. I've included the link there to the recording. There's also an upcoming one for kind of the second phase. And essentially they are studying a redesign of the naturalization and citizenship test. Many of us that have been in this space have seen that test redesigned several times. And so it would be important for us to participate and to be able to give feedback. I think that's important that us as first line responders working with those seeking citizenship and naturalization know best the challenges of that test, what resources it takes to help someone achieve that status and work through that process. And so when you receive this, please be sure to watch that recording as well as join the next series of that webinar. It's a national series that they're hosting on that. I'd also like to share that Marisol Adelman from Washtenaw Community College Adult Pathways Transitions Program has been announced and named as our Michigan State Advocate for Adult Education Fellow, better known as SAFE, for 2023 and 2024. Last year, we had Carrie Makturi from Little Literacy Center of West Michigan, who helped us do much of our advocacy work and be a part of our Adult Education and Family Literacy Week, write a couple of op-eds. And so Marisol is coming on and will work very closely with us. We've already got great plans. She's got great passion and a great vision for what resources we might bring to Michigan. And she'll be working over the next year, really, in a cohort with other selected fellows from across the country to really kind of solidify a strategy for advocacy. She'll go through kind of a boot camp of training of what it means to be an advocate at the national and the statewide level. And then we'll share many of the resources that she learns with us at MACAE. We'll work very closely with her to ensure that when we're having conversations with policymakers around adult education and family literacy, that she's at the table and is represented. And Marisol, if you remember, spoke at our advocacy day, and we're excited that she shared her story there as an adult learner herself, and now working as an adult education professional at the Washtenaw Community College program. So we're very excited for Marisol to be our SAFE advocate for 2023-2024. Congratulations, Marisol. She's very excited, I know. And then a couple of other interesting resources from the Office of Career and Technical Adult Education, which is the federal office that oversees adult education across the country. One is that a new website has been announced called Unlocking Career Success. And I'm just going to go over there very quickly because I know that we're coming to the end of our time here. But it has a number of different pillars and newsletters to talk about work-based learning opportunities, dual enrollment, workforce credentials, both for youth still in high school as well as adults, and kind of trying to be a landing page or a space for resources on how best to support youth and adults to really get into the workforce space. Career navigation resources, what that means. I know many of us are kind of looking for the best strategies or resources to help adult learners transition. They are still building out this website, but I am excited that they will hopefully be a one-stop landing page for those of you working in career navigation or helping youth and adult transition into the workplace, from all things from credit transfers all the way to credential and badging. So keep this on your radar, the Unlocking Career Success website, if you're in a professional working in that space. And then I have not had time to fully divest and look at these reports, but two major reports were just also released in the last few weeks, and they are studying the implementation of WIOA. And from the high level kind of pieces that I've looked at, they really have been studying the effectiveness of that at each statewide level and whether or not really the outlay of it has been effective in terms of reaching the learners that need services the most, whether it's been effective in the allocation of resources to the providers to be able to do those programs, and whether or not the programming has been intentional or comprehensive enough to really move the needle. And this refers back to my earlier comment about how one of the reports that first report talks about whether or not enough resources at the statewide and federal level have been implemented to really make integrated education and training IET programs robust enough. And not because providers haven't attempted or tried to put those things together, but because of a lack of continued funding or direction from state and federal leadership that perhaps it hasn't impacted in the way that it was intended to. So we will continue to examine those reports and to look at that and pull out some kind of feedback for all of you, but also I've included the links directly to those reports if those of you would like to read those directly and to kind of study that. They are very dense. It is not a fun read, but it more is an informational and informative read. But I do think that it's important that they are analyzing that. And one of the things that's important and critical as well is that there will be feedback available from local level providers and state level providers to give feedback on whether or not these reports are reflective of what's happening on the ground in the country, really, and particularly for us in Michigan. Does what the report says, is that really happening in a parent in Michigan, both in terms of, are we able to meet the people we need to? Do we have the funding to do that? Do we have the flexibility, and is that really being inclusive enough to reach all of the adult learners that we know need our services? So I'm glad that at this federal level, they're analyzing that, scrutinizing that, and discussing that. Yes, Mariah, I agree. I'm glad that this is happening. And my hope is that, you know, over the long term, it will help to impact some policy and really analyze and look at where this programming goes forward from here. And then two other updates I just wanted to share is one that one of our colleagues shared. It was a great article about proof that positive work cultures are making more productive. And I think as we all continue to figure out this in-person, virtual, hybrid experience and going in now to our third year since the pandemic started, what does that mean? And how do we continue to make a positive work culture and experience for everyone that is there and a part of our mission, a part of our community, and really trying to understand that. So it's a pretty easy read. And I thought it was really important to share that out. And I want to thank Kim Bell, who shared that with us from Comstock. And then lastly, I would just update in terms of adult education news is that there is a new director in the Office of Career and Technical Adult Education. That is the office that oversees, like I said, adult education programming. And her name is Latoya Newsom, and she is from the state of Tennessee. We actually, I had met her at a previous COABE conference and met her again at this COABE conference and said hello to her. The last time I communicated with her at the last conference, she was very knowledgeable and very personable with me and with others that were in the cohort that were in a session with her. And so I believe ACTE has released a overview of her credentials and shared a little bit about her background. She has worked at the local program level in Tennessee. She's been a career navigator. She's worked at the state level, is where she's currently leaving in Tennessee. She's worked at the state level in terms of overseeing grants and overseeing professional development and programming, and now is going to the national level. So it is important that we have people come from the field to leadership positions that understand what it means to be a learner, as well as what it means to be a professional working in this space. So I will extend the invitation to have her come and speak with us over the next year as she settles into her new position. And my hope is that she will accept that and be able to share her vision for adult education at the federal level with us as well. So more information to come on Miss Newsom and her impact for all of us. Coming to the end of our time, I just wanted to leave you with a few takeaways for our advocacy. Our advocacy work continues. The last couple of weeks have been really important for us to continue to message. It's been a quiet couple of weeks because the state legislature has been out of office. They've been on spring break. And so they are returning this week. And so we will continue to meet with them and to advocate in particular for these particular areas. The increase for Section 107, the increase for a one-time investment for Section 107A, and the Adult Literacy Opportunity Fund for nonprofit literacy agencies. We will expect that the House and Senate subcommittees on appropriations and then the full House and Senate will move on these funding bills within the next month, really by mid-May. And really by the end of April is when these bills will be coming out of committee. So we will be sending out a follow-up email today. If you have not had a chance to reach out to your policymakers, please do this. Whether you participated in, if you participated in the advocacy day and sent a follow-up, we appreciate that and applaud that. But if you have not yet had an opportunity to either come to the advocacy day or send an email, this is really targeted for you. We need your assistance in helping to raise this. It is interesting in the legislature how it really kind of is a group mentality sometimes. And while your particular lawmaker may not be on one of the appropriations committee that we've been talking with intimately, they are going to their colleagues and saying, is this a need in your area? Is this a need in your area? And so if your policymakers can help say, yes, I've heard from my constituents that we need more increased funding in adult education, publicly funded programs and nonprofit funded programs, we need your support and assistance. So I would just say and urge you, ask you, beg you, plead, whatever you insert verb there, please do this. It's really not an ask. It's really a tell at this point that you do need to send a letter. If you already did, you should be golden. We appreciate you for doing that. But if you have not yet done that, we will send the verbiage to you. You can copy and paste it. We will send you the link to find out who your lawmaker is if you don't know who they are already. And all we need to do is basically copy and paste the verbiage into an email and send it to them on MACAE's behalf, but also on your own behalf and the behalf of your learners. So thank you for your continued support. And my hope is by our next check-in, we'll have a more exciting announcement for where these investments are in the legislature. We've reviewed that last time, so I'm going to go ahead and just say that we are again going to be surveying and soliciting feedback on what are the most need areas for, or where are you as program level providers seeing where investments are needed the most. We obviously did this to formulate why an investment is needed, but now we need to re-look at where are we seeing the most needs in the most areas, and those will be collected and shared out with our state office as well as policymakers so that everything lines up. What we do not want to happen is that we have providers or programs that have a need and then our partners at the state office or the legislature don't understand why that need is there. And so we really need to have some real bullet points and statistics to back up. This is what we're hearing is a need, and we need flexibility in funding, and we need these resources at a timely manner. Those are the types of things that we'll need. So please look out for a survey in the next couple of weeks that we will be launching to solicit your feedback. We'd ask that each program respond to that. We will try to keep it as brief as possible. And then please mark your calendars for the last week in April. We will be reviving and bringing back the focus groups from our past different iterations for different things. But the focus groups will be a time for us to kind of dissect where the budget process is, as well as firsthand hear from you all if I were to see this investment in my program, these are the things that I have identified I will want to invest in on behalf of my program. If you don't have ideas on what that investment is, we will also be talking about that as well. And all of this information will be cataloged and then shared with our policymakers as well as with our adult education office. And the reason why we're going through this process is so that when a budget ask comes up in the fall, we've already had that conversation to say it isn't a out of scope or out of line question that providers are now saying, I need to implement or make funding changes or make programmatic changes in this way with this new funding that's anticipated. And it really is trying to get ahead of the curve so that next year, when we have additional resources available, you all as program providers have what you need to affect real change and to meet the needs of your learners and try to mitigate as many barriers or obstacles as possible. If I have one more email about why MACAE Association membership is important, I may scream. And so we're trying to do everything that we can to mitigate questions like that and to try to get ahead of this is the trends of what's happening in our programs and what our learners need. And so please join us for those conversations. There are those different times. We will obviously send these out in subsequent MACAE Monday updates with Zoom links, etc. But please join us for these conversations so that we can really get a well representation from our members and graph between the survey and these listening focus group sessions, a really kind of holistic picture of where you all are at in looking towards next year and the types of where you would most utilize investments. I saw Marcus, you had your hand up. Did you have a question?
Yeah, just a point of clarification. Is that last session, is that Friday the 28th?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Marcus. Yes, I will correct that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, in our last a few minutes, just a couple of reminder dates for you all. Today, we have our professional development with the Robert Bush Foundation, if that's something that you're interested in this afternoon. It is a virtual presentation, very excited about that. I would encourage those of you that are participating, we did send out a reminder email. We'll send that one out again with the link, but they really want this to be an interactive session. So please participate if you can in the discussion groups and in the ways that you can in the chat as much as you can during that. This April, we have no official April committee meetings, but committees have been encouraged to meet on their own. So if you were on a MACAE committee, your chairperson will probably reach out to you and have a conversation. But our next in-person as well as virtual MACAE committee meetings will follow our board meeting on Friday, May 5th. These will be the last scheduled ones for this program year. And so we would love to have you come in person in Lansing. Hopefully it'll be a beautiful day on a Friday and meet and network with your colleagues. Again, we have our MACAE Virtual Spring Institute on May 11th and 12th coming up. The formal agenda will be released on Friday of this week. I know many have been asking for that, and I've had to make a few minor tweaks on our end, but that agenda will be released later this week. And I believe Dawn's putting the link for registration there again in the chat. And then just a reminder that we will have a leadership one-day in-person professional development at our MACAE office in later June, and would love to have both administrators, teachers, and support staff, anyone who feels that they are a leader in their workspace to come and to be inspired by a motivational speaker that we have coming in. So thank you for keeping those dates on your calendar. And with that, I will let you go. It is 10 o'clock now, and we will stay on for just a few more minutes if anyone has any additional questions. But thank you all for attending and being a part again of our association and these important updates. You will receive a copy of the recording as well as a copy of the slide deck. And if there's anything that we can do, please reach out to myself and our new office person, Dawn Beaver, who will become a friend and colleague of yours and a resource for you as well. So take care, everyone, and we will see you next month. Bye-bye.